I got my best friend expelled. Story time. When I was in high school, I used to have this best friend named Kyle. And we used to mess with each other all the time. Like this one time, he smacked our gym teacher's butt and convinced him it was me, and I got suspended for like 2 days. So, of course, I had to get him back. So when I returned to school, I came up with this prank that may have went a little too far. I stayed after school and waited for all the teachers to go home. Went to his homeroom class and destroyed it. I mean, I really messed it up. I dumped over the teacher's desk, took a permanent marker and wrote all over the students' desks. And then I took that permanent marker and signed Kyle's name on the whiteboard. The next day, Kyle got called to the office and I thought he was just going to get suspended like I did. But they actually decided to expel him. And he couldn't convince them that it wasn't him because our school didn't have cameras at the time. Until this day, he doesn't know it was me. I caught my dad cheating on my mom. Story time. So my parents are married, and it seemed like everything was going good. You know, they never lied to each other, they were always honest with one another. In fact, they even decided to have another baby, and now my mom is currently 5 months pregnant. And I was under the impression that they were perfect. Until one day I overslept and missed the school bus, so I decided to stay home. And I was supposed to be home by myself, but I noticed that my dad's car was still in the driveway. And I know for sure he had work, so I figured he may have overslept too. So I decided that I was gonna be nice and wake him up. So I started to head over to his bedroom. But the closer I got to his room, the more adult noises I started to hear. And I could also hear a woman, but my mom wasn't home. So I immediately get angry and barge into my parents' bedroom. And I saw my dad on top of some random lady. And of course they were shocked when they seen me. Full story on YouTube. I shaved off my sister's eyebrows. Story time. Hair wax is Storytime Beauty, link in bio, check it out. So me and my sister share literally everything. Like makeup, shoes, bras, but never boys, because that's just weird. But apparently, she didn't get that memo because my best friend caught my boyfriend of 3 years cheating on me with my sister. And then when I confronted her about it, she actually admitted to it. But instead of apologizing to me, she tried to convince me that we both should date him, like at the same time. So I swallowed my pride and pretended to agree to it because I had a plan. So a couple days go by and I tell my sister that we should do something nice for our boyfriend. Get all dressed up, do each other's makeup, and cook for him. And she actually agrees to it. So later that night, I began to do her makeup and I asked her if I could clean up her eyebrows. So I took my eyebrow razor and started shaving them off. I took my time too, like I was actually doing her eyebrows, so she had no idea. And when I was done with her, she looked like a giant egg. I stapled my brother's butt cheeks together. Story time. By the way, I'm using Storytime Beauty, link in bio, check it out. So I have the gassiest brother in the world, and his farts are deadly. I mean, he could literally wipe out an entire country in one blow, no exaggeration. And unfortunately, I used to share a room with him. And every single night, right before we would go to sleep, he would blow it up. I mean, it got so bad that I would sometimes wake up vomiting. So I straight up told him like, hey, if you don't stop farting, I'm gonna staple your butt cheeks together, bro. And I guess he didn't take me too seriously because that night I was woken up to a foul smell and my brother laughing. So I got out of bed, went into my mom's office, grabbed her stapler, came back into my bedroom, and slapped it on his butt as hard as I could, aiming for his crack. And the staple was actually able to get both of his cheeks, keeping them together. And to answer your question, yes, he was in a lot of pain. And I also got in a lot of trouble. My uncle tried to kidnap me. Story time. Growing up, I was really close to my uncle. I mean, he was like my best friend. But then something happened between him and the rest of my family, and I wasn't allowed to see him anymore. So at this point, a week had passed since I seen my uncle. I was at school about to get on the bus to go home, but I got a text message from my uncle. And it said, hey, I'm out front. Your dad asked me to pick you up. And I thought it was weird, but I didn't think too much about it. So instead of getting on the bus, I found him and got in his car. And once I got in the car, he started acting really strange. So I sent a text to my dad and let him know that uncle was taking me home. Or so I thought he was taking me home. But instead of going to my house, he started driving past my neighborhood. And right in that moment, my dad texted me back and said, "Get out of that car. Do not go with your uncle. He is a bad man." So the moment we came to a red light, I jumped out of the car and started running for my life. And instead of chasing after me, he peeled off. And he was never seen again.
This is why you might not want to move in with your best friend. After graduating high school, my bestie of 9 years and I decided to move in together. We both loved the same things, hung out nearly every day, and at the time I couldn't think of any reason why it wouldn't work out. When we first moved in, I had just gotten out of an abusive relationship that ended in assault. I sat her down and set some boundaries while explaining my reasons for them. The most important was no sleepovers. I didn't care if she slept with her boyfriend, but I didn't want him staying over, and if it was needed after a night of drinking or something, then she'd give me warning so I'd be able to make preparations for myself. At first, things were fine, but shortly after she had a messy breakup with her boyfriend, it was a downward spiral. She brought over a different guy every night. I hit my breaking point when she brought over 7 guys in one day and then disappeared for 3 days with one of them while ignoring my texts and phone calls. She kept blowing me off, so I disconnected the Netflix and all other streaming services that I provided. This is when she finally talked to me. I let her know that I didn't feel safe in my own apartment and that it either needed to end or I'd be moving out. I didn't like sleeping with my door locked and afraid to use the restroom at night. She agreed, but little did I know it was about to get 100 times worse when she got a new boyfriend who had it out for me. Part 2 of why you might not want to move in with your best friend. A few months after renewing our lease, we both started dating new guys. Hers seemed nice at first, but that illusion of kindness quickly dissolved. We lived on a smoke-free campus and he constantly smoked on our balcony. When I told him he couldn't do that or we'd get a fine, he told me to shut the F up. I was shocked. Around Christmas, he got evicted from his apartment and my roommate told him he could stay with us without even consulting me. He said it would only be until the beginning of the year and he'd pay a third of the bills. However, he didn't hold up to any of that. He laid around all day, eating my food, using my Netflix, and so on. When I texted my bestie about it, she told me it wasn't her problem and to confront him. I served him a 30-day notice and told him I'd take him to court if he didn't leave. He left that day and my bestie went with him while still paying rent at our place. 6 months later, they were back. He was pissed and began fat-shaming me, loudly wondering why my boyfriend was willing to date a whale like me. When I left him a note asking him to stop eating my food, he wrote, "Just trying to help you out with your diet," with a well sticker. The last straw was when I came home and he was picking my lock. Apparently, they'd both gotten into hard drugs and were pawning things off. I called my boyfriend and family and within a few days I was all moved out. I found out later they got evicted. I haven't talked to her since. Storytime about how a stranger disclosed his fetishes to me at the park. I was studying in the park by my house when a cute guy around my age wearing a sweatshirt from my college sat down directly next to me. I thought it was a little odd, especially during the pandemic, so I scooched in the other direction. That's when he started talking to me and introduced himself as Jose, all stuttery and not making eye contact. I thought it was so sweet that he was this nervous to talk to me, so I took the bait and said, "Oh, well hi, I'm Tamara." That's when he tells me that I have a pretty name and that he'd never guessed that would be my name. There was a long, awkward pause as I tried to think of what I could say in response to that, and that's when he goes, "So, what about a walk around the park?" I thought that was really gutsy to ask, but I kind of liked that. I said sure, packed up my books, and off we went. I figured it was the middle of the day, surrounded by other people, so the worst case scenario I could always ditch him if things got shady. We were walking and he was making more nervous small talk. I told him about my interests and background. He was like, "Wow, I didn't expect you to tell me so much about yourself." I wasn't sure how to feel about that, but alright. That's when he asked if he should tell me more about himself since it was almost 3 p.m. I assumed he had somewhere to be and I said sure. Then he said, "Maybe we should have this conversation at your place." That definitely threw me off and things only got weirder from here. Part 2 of how a stranger disclosed his fetishes to me at the park. I thought asking me, a total stranger, to stop what I was doing and take a walk with him was gutsy, but what he just said was sleazy at best. I nervously looked for non-confrontational outs and said, "Ahaha, we're definitely not going to my place." He said, "Oh, okay, sure. I didn't mean where you live, just meant the place, where it is we're going. I'm sure you got something all worked out. Anyways, I can tell you about myself, sure." He was looking around to see if other people were listening and he goes, "See, I'm really more of an ass kind of guy. I have a major spanking fetish, so if you got any skirts or..." I tuned out the rest as I started screaming in my head. Forget the non-confrontational exit, I instinctively went, "Stop, this conversation is over," turning to hightail it out of there. The guy ran after me going, "Wait, what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I'm sorry. The ad said you were cool with kinks and stuff, so I just thought, wow, I'm sorry." Alright, that slowed me down. I'm thinking, did he just say ad? Then he said, "Again, I'm so sorry, and look, this may not be the best time to ask, but am I still getting charged full-time even though you're leaving?" It turns out, poor guy was experiencing a touch of pandemic loneliness and hired a call girl off some personals online. She told him she'd be in the park wearing almost my identical outfit and described the features similar to mine.
You know what I find funny? That these sickos decided to make a day called International Rape Day. A day where you could rape women and children. I'm not surprised why they chose the month of April. And I'm gonna tell you why. The whole month of April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. A month that is dedicated to the people that have been abused, respecting them and their stories. These sickos are coming together and going against this month, bringing fear to us, bringing rape, hurting us. This is not okay. Women, please carry a weapon not only that day, but always. And to the sickos that are being part of International Rape Day, I just want to tell you, We're not playing anymore. It might be your last day here. Be careful. Rest in peace.